Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 11. This is our weekly live stream where we talk about news, music. We usually do a round-robin type conversation on something Curtis wants to bring up, music-based. And then we talk a little bit about marketing as a musician. Today we've got a few interesting topics. We're talking about some new features from Splice. We are going to talk about some interesting mixing recommendations from a website and whether we agree or disagree. And we'll talk about a really cool new synth. I guess we call it a synth, right, Eon Lake? Yeah. And then the last thing we'll talk about, a couple marketing things. Instagram introduced that they're rolling out some functions with NFTs and also a new LUFS metric on Apple. My name is Sunwarper, and with me always is my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. How are you today, Curtis?
I'm all right, dude. How you doing? You all right?
I'm good. I just had to speak a lot, so I need to take a breath.
All that in one fucking breath. Yeah, no, it's quite cool. No, it's cool. Sun is out here in Prague. Summer has officially come. So I have not touched the decks or the keys for about 5 days now. I've been out in the sun, and it has been absolutely beautiful.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Got to get nature. Just like sticking my feet in the ground and like digging into the floor. Just like really getting the nature.
Do you ascribe to the whole grounding thing? You know, where you try to get like your feet on grass and things like that. Yeah, I like it too. Oh, Eon Lake too. Yeah, we'll get to you, Eon Lake. Don't start yet. No, I'm kidding. What have you been doing, Curtis? Yeah, it's just Curtis and I for right now. No.
That's the benefits of a standing desk. We have to say goodbye to Eon Lake this week, but
yeah, he'll be back in a few minutes. But so you haven't done any music though, Curtis? Just
No, a little bit of mixing here and there. I mean, okay. You know me, I'm addicted to what we do, so like a little bit of mixing here and there. But like the, it's been about kind of go. We don't this winter. The winter has been so long, and it's been such a tease this year that we don't know when the sun's going to go away. So it's like I need some sun, man. I need some sun. You know?
There you go. All right. Well, that works. Sometimes it's good to take a break though. But yeah. And then now with us is our friend and colleague Eon Lake. How are you today, Eon Lake? Have you been grounding?
I'm grounded. I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Oh, good to hear.
I'm more digital now. You probably noticed. Between my sound card and my PC is an Ethernet cable.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's right. Audio, video, bridging, like a pro.
And I think you mentioned that your modular just gained sentience and it's just in the background playing loops while you talk to us.
It is just making wibbly noises. There's an ensemble oscillator making a funny little noise.
Oh, cool.
I'll get back to it later.
Well, I was going to say this is the first week that we logged on early and prepared and everything working. Like it's only taken us 11 weeks, but Eon Lake, you can now play with your desk and we can hear stuff coming out of your rig. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe something like.
He's evolved.
We have gone to the next level.
That's what's going on in the background while I'm talking.
Very cool.
And what might that be?
Sounds from inside my head.
Ah, cool. All right. I've just got into screaming, so I'm glad yours sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah. So I tried that whole AVB thing, and turned out it was incredibly easy. I stuck a cable into there, told the Mac there's a new sound interface, use it, and it works. That easy.
That's exactly what you need.
There you go.
Go back to my previous ranting about proprietary drivers and USB. I'm using a standard thing over Ethernet. Don't need anyone to keep drivers up to date. Just need Apple to keep supporting it on their interfaces.
Yeah.
That's what we need. So, I mean, we can close that chapter of the life, as so to speak, unless anything comes back, of course.
But if I've learned about it, it's never truly closed.
Well, okay. Well, we have to see how that ends out.
There's always some class compliance issue coming up, right?
Yeah. We just have to work, don't we? Forever.
It would be nice. It would be nice if things just worked.
Stuff instead of messing around with things, trying to make them work, or having to buy new ones.
Apparently, that's a big ask, though. So, you know. Whatever.
I mean, we buy all this gear. I mean, if anything, the idea is like you work for the sound, and then at the end of it, when it works, you get that instant gratification. I mean, that is one way of looking at it. I mean, it's more
once as well, isn't it?
Say it again.
It's enough to buy it once, isn't it?
Wow,
twice, just because somebody doesn't want to update a driver anymore.
This is fair. This is fair. We'll have to see how that goes. But Sunwarper, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I had a crazy weekend with stuff happening. Not good crazy. It was my fiance's car. They stole the catalytic converter, so that's been a whole thing we've been figuring out and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. Insurance is going to cover it and all that, thankfully. But it is what it is. But Curtis and I have been working. Well, Curtis has been working on a really cool lyric video for my next upcoming track, and then he's got like moving clouds, which that just blew me away. I was like, where'd the clouds go in the album artwork? And then as the song's going on, these clouds just start coming in. I was like, oh, that's where they went. And then I put up finally that Rhubarb cover from Aphex Twin. It's only taken me like 6 months to finally get that out or something. But yeah, because I always do covers where I like make a full 1-to-1 replica of the song. And this time I was like, no, I want to do just a guitar arrangement. So I had to figure out every part, try to do chord inversions on the guitar to get it to like play, but I made it work, and I'm really stoked with how it came out. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it.
I love that track.
Yeah, it's a great track, man.
We were Sunwarper and I were recording Binary Stars last night, the episode 2, and then we just hopped on afterwards. And I mean, we had quite an exciting, upbeat kind of Middle Eastern vibes going on, and it was just a nice way to chill at the end of the night.
Yeah, Binary Stars. Those songs, the songs you chose were sick. And yeah, it's cool.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens when it comes out. Incidentally, for people who don't, it's still a new concept for people listening. Binary Stars is our new show where we talk about tunes and chat shit, and a bit like this, but there's more music based as opposed to.
And there's some editing, so you don't have to hear us drone on. But yeah, we do 2 songs from our playlist, which you can check out in the description. And then we do 2 songs that have been inspiring or influencing us lately. It's a lot of fun. But if you want to submit, just DM either Audionautic or myself or Curtis, and we'll get it on there.
We'll go from there, exactly.
Just away from the old playing a load of songs. This one's good. This one's good. This one's good. Can actually say why, how?
Yeah, exactly. It's to give a take on like why we're vibing with the song, instead of just like playing a bunch of songs. It's like, oh, this is a cool song and here's why we think it's cool.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So it's always nice. So we are at 10 minutes past the hour. What news
real quick, Hydro Fighter is in the chat. What's going on, Hydro Fighter? Good to have you.
Hydro Fighter, nice to see you. Yo. Lovely to have you here. And yes, we can see you come in, and we shall do this later on.
I forgot to say something that I've been doing this week.
Oh, hit it.
Of course, listening to the fine new release on Audionautic. Curtis and Winterbrand.
Yeah.
That is, that.
Congratulations, guys. It's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, you guys did great work.
We did. Well, as in, it was nice. It was good fun. As in, sorry, that's like, oh
yeah, we did. No, you did though. Be proud of it, man. It's sick.
Yeah, it's cool. You know me and like self-deprecation, all that stuff. It was good. It was. I really like the process. That's what I said at the beginning of the year. I want to do more collabs. I want to do more remixes. I want to work with people more. And then and then Carl hits me up. It's like, you want to work together? I'm like, yeah, of course I fucking do. So, yeah.
Sounds like people enjoying what they do to me.
Yeah, it very much is so. It very much is so. So yes, we'll have to have a look how that goes. But we have got a lot to get through today. Yeah, and we've got lots of little bits for the first time in a while. So we have some of the news to come through. Should we start with the big sort of monumental news of the time?
Bigger than a golden MPC?
Well,
we'll never get that big again.
Hydro Fighter says, well, first of all, he'll be using a mic today when he hops in the chat. This is funded by patrons. You can head over to patreon.com/audionautic if you'd like to help support the channel. We have bonus content like a podcast and bloopers and things like that. But you also get to come in the video chat here with us during ADSN. And he said he'll be using a mic today. You may need to check my volume. No worries. When we get you on, we'll check it. And then he said he's totally digging the collab release as well.
Thank you very much. That's what you want to hear. So thank you. Hydrofire, if it times out when you come into the chat, it's just because when I share my screen, I need to be able to press the right buttons, which I can't do. But you're listening and you're watching. When you want to join, when it's time to join the chat, just try it again and I'll come on through. For now, because I need to share my screen, the biggest news of the day, perhaps rivaling that of the gold NPC from last week.
We'll be the judge of that.
Like start with some sad news is that the iPod is gone. And what?
I thought it was already gone. That's what I was saying when I think Ian, like, you brought this to the table, but I thought it was gone already.
No.
It's still alive. Well, for a moment.
Those parents trying to keep their children off the internet, but still let them listen to music, you know. But I think we've all come to terms now with the fact that if you take a modern person and cut their hand off, the hand will grow back with a smartphone in it. So,
I mean, I'm sure those iPod Touches were Wi-Fi, though, right? Because I think they discontinued the wheel one a long time ago.
Being able to get groomed on the internet, you know, might as well just go the whole hog and have a smartphone.
Yeah,
you might as well. But then again, at the same time, I still use mine. And
is that the like Nano or something?
This is like the original Nano Touch. Whoa. Yeah, and I still use it on a near daily basis. It's got all the tracks that. Oh yeah, we spend so much time on our phones.
Yeah,
and I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I don't want to use my phone anymore. So I'll just listen to some tunes.
I find myself wondering if they missed the backlash where, you know, it's a tool that you can use when you want to ditch the phone for a bit. You know, I'm sick of having a phone and being available all the time. I still want to listen to music.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I love the one with the wheel.
Yeah, the original style.
Yeah,
I think they're exchanging hands for quite a considerable amount of money now.
I still have two, but one's broken. I think the other one still works.
Oh, so is that like 1.5? Is that one and a non-functioning one? We'd have to have a.
I don't know. I don't remember why the one doesn't function, but I just remember it doesn't function. I know that much.
Yeah, well, we get that too.
And then it'll be worth loads of money.
Yeah,
of course, and you can make trap on it. That'd be the best thing.
Yeah, I love the iPod though, but I get what you mean about it was a way. I mean, back then, there wasn't like smartphones, I think, when they first came out. But I remember then they introduced the touch, and I didn't like that. I just liked having that wheel one. It was just easier. But I guess the touch has been the only one, or that like iPhone style has been the only one that's still been going, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We put on everything these days. I'm having my screen fitted next week. Like a Teletubby.
I mean, it's a shame. Like, I mean, everyone is using phones and things like Spotify and Bandcamp now and that, which is okay. That's fine. No more market for them. Or get it done. But they did miss a trick. Like you say, it's completely offline. Yeah. You don't need any data or anything like that to get anything down. And it is cumbersome. Like putting stuff on through iTunes. It is like.
But I think you could use Spotify on those touches because they had apps.
Yeah, you could. But,
so you could download offline. You know.
Ones.
I'm sorry. Say again.
You could on the screen-based ones. You could have Spotify running on it and use it over Wi-Fi and stuff. But I think curating music, you know, I think for a lot of, if it was like, you know, documents, it would be a hassle, it'd be a chore. But because you're talking about, you know, playlists and music and that, I think there's, for some reason, it breaks the rules. And messing around with music in that way is an enjoyable thing. You know, this is why people hoard records and then alphabetize them and take you know, a week to do it because they've got several thousand records. You know? But enjoy doing that, and it's the sort of thing that you would normally rather kill yourself than do with any other thing. But because it's music, for some reason, people feel differently about it.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps so. So it's a sad day. I mean, I think we all grew up to a certain degree with MP3 players and iPods, so it's the giant of them all. So it's a bit of a shame. But out with the old and in with the new, so to speak. We have slightly interesting news coming out of Splice. Do you guys use Splice?
No, we talked about this, but I'm looking into it.
Okay. Oh yeah, we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the name of new, the whole idea, we've touched on AI and AI generated music before, and you know we've had, I think one of the first ADSNs, we spoke about it in a way. This idea of Splice have just come out. Obviously, you can get all your samples through Splice. You know, you spend about $6 a month, and you've got this huge database of sounds and one shots, etc. And well worth it, especially if you've got. You guys, I don't think you've mentioned it. Have you got an SP or anything like that at all?
I do. By the way, Curtis, could you zoom in a little bit on the
How much
screen?
did you say it was?
I think it's about 6 on the screen, right?
Yeah. Sorry, my brain just like blanked for a second. Yeah, on the screen, just so we can see it a little better. Yeah, I mean, I know Howard's looking at getting that gold MPC, but he has an MPC and an SP. I've got the SP. I that's one of the reasons why I've been looking into Splice. It looks like it'd be cool. I've just been enjoying making samples and just recording into. But no, I mean, that's not a knock on grabbing samples. I have no qualms with it. I think it's a really cool way to do things, and you can do ideas that you wouldn't normally do. Like when for our Star Streams, our Patreon podcast, we're trading samples with each other that we're making and then making songs out of it. And I made a song like nothing I'd normally make, and so it can get you out of your comfort zones.
Yeah, completely. Well, this is the new thing. I use Splice quite a bit. I have a rule: if I can't play it or if I don't have it, I'll get a sample of it and I'll like mangle it and stuff like that. But so there's this new app coming out, Koso, where if you are, excuse me, complementary sounds, where you are, if you're using a sample, it will use its AI algorithm to suggest new samples to you.
Oh wow!
So in order for you to say, if you've got a melody line or something like that, it will suggest a chord line to go through with it or something like that. Or if you've got you can build a drum kit which could be quote unquote cohesive. I know that we are kind of a bit like, hey, just make a drum kit out of anything because it all works. But like, if you are a producer who likes to use loops and likes to use one shots, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or on a time crunch.
Exactly. Yeah. If you've got a commission going, or if you've got something that you're on a bit of a schedule for, and you haven't got time because there's millions of sounds there, and if you can go through it and you can just create and literally stitch together a sound, which I don't know, man. I think that's pretty damn cool.
That's sick. Cool. I wonder, does it recognize keys and things like that? When I mean, you would think it does. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read it, so I'm curious.
I mean, they'd have to. I mean, if you've got say you got a progression in F major, for example, you're gonna have to have something that's in F major to go with it. I wonder if it's less key, and I wonder if it's more frequency. Hey, that rhymes. Maybe.
Could be. That's really cool, though.
Yeah. Can make it work. Ian Lake, what are your thoughts?
I think not everyone who can afford to or whatever, but I mean, I think it's good to have a tool like that in your arsenal. I use Outputs Arcade for that sort of thing. Tons of stuff in it if you want something just to get you going. And there's enough. I like the way it presents itself as an instrument, so you can try and sort of not use something straight out of the packet. I get really scared off by sound packs and sample packs that are of a particular style or something, because I don't necessarily want to suddenly be in a genre just straight away. But I do like I'm like Sunwarper. I like to sample things myself a fair bit and build things that way, and it's more about how the workflow is with it than anything else. But I don't see anything wrong with nicking samples like this, and just, it's a Splice has this thing where it can sync across to other people as well. So if you're working on the same project, don't you have a shared directory on your machine and it syncs over the internet, so you've got all the same sounds and so on. So there are a lot of convenience factors about Splice that make it really good. It's just not something I've taken the time to sort of become familiar with, but it's definitely good to have some way of establishing moves really quickly. Started, I mean, modular does that for me sometimes, but samples as well, just getting a sound, get you in a mood, and then suddenly things start to happen. It's good like that. And like you say, if you've got little time, it's a good way of getting started quick.
Yeah, completely. It's amazing how quick you can kind of spin these things together. Like, we use it at work quite a bit. The integration between the different computers means that you can chop and change and work on the same stuff, or tweak here, tweak there, that kind of thing on each other's stuff relatively easily. And I mean, we won't go into a big debate about the difference between production and then sampling and then kind of making a whole thing out about it. But the idea of just having such a good tool at your fingertips to kind of create something new and try something new and go off on a springboard, a proverbial whiteboard, you might say. That's the way I do it.
Yeah, I love drum samples especially. Like, it's so fun to start with that and chop it up, and then even just taking musical samples and making micro chops and doing these weird things, or adding Valhalla Supermassive or something and getting like a pad from it. It's fun to do that type of stuff.
It is. I mean, I noticed in Father, you've got these interesting little chops in your drums. I don't know if
there are drum samples in there that I like did reversing, and I stretched them and things like that to do stuff. Yeah, keen ears right there, my friend.
Well, I mean, I mean, you know, I love all your stuff, but also I make all your videos, so it's like,
yeah. I guess you've heard it enough that you're like, oh, there's those samples again.
It's the same stuff. No, it's cool. It works. So yeah, it works out nicely on its own right. So yeah, that is everything on that front. I found something a bit more human world as well, which is going on in the world. The idea that, I know this doesn't affect you guys over the pond quite a way, but for Eon Lake and I, the idea of moving between our, did I say, godforsaken country and the continent has got a little bit easier, which is a bit of good news. I wanted to bring a bit of good news to the people. I found this one as well. So basically this concerns the big B word, Brexit, and the idea that we've had a bit of problems getting to and from the continent, people touring around to and from over the past couple of years because of Brexit in its own right. But in now they're kind of going back on it. And it allows people to go through, and it allows people from the UK to tour on the continent a lot easier than before, which it's not production news, but it's just a nice little bit of good news.
In what way does it make it easier? What was the thing hampering it?
So because there's this blockage now between freedom of movement and how to kind of move through. So for example, if you're in the UK, we weren't part of Schengen, but we had this ability of freedom of movement on the continent, essentially. And we could move between the different countries without needing separate visas or passports or anything.
As a European citizen.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Because when I first read your list, I thought it was something to do with like COVID restrictions or something, but it predates that, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, this is Brexit. This is way before COVID. But it's, especially when it comes to, I think I got a bit confused when I first read it, but this is why they got a photo of the lorry. Essentially, you've got one rule. For a time, you had one rule for musicians, so they relaxed it for musicians early on after Brexit, but the people who transport the musicians, the lorry, the truck drivers, the bus drivers, etc., they didn't have any special permissions, which meant they couldn't get anything done, essentially. Which is really logical if you think about it.
Musicians are there and all their kits to the home.
Yeah, exactly.
Stage and the lighting.
Exactly. But they seem to have been updating it, essentially, which allows now the cohesive backstage team as well as the musicians themselves to move nicely between the UK and Europe, which is only a good thing, if you ask me. It's only a positive thing in that sense.
Yeah, the cost of continuing to tour, it's a huge thing for people over here because, you know, as we all know, you can't make money selling music anymore. It's all about the touring, and if you chop that off as well, it starts to get a bit grim. So it's good news. It is good news. Quite right too. Glad to see it. More of this sort of thing.
Yeah, completely. I suppose it would be like Sunwarper, you sitting in Orange and then wanting to go and do a tour in, say,
like Arizona Oregon. Or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Arizona or something. And then but you having to get a whole visa to kind of get that done. And that would be a ball ache and a half, basically.
Yeah. And so they probably, would they have to get a visa per country, or would they get it just as like for Europe, you know, like the EU?
Well, I left the country before I actually got that finalized. I haven't been back to the UK. Eon Lake, do you know that answer to that question?
I don't know, but I know that there's also cost involved in carnets and so on, you know, that get really expensive. So these permits to travel, and also you might end up crossing a border more than once in Europe because you might be doing a gig in one country and then come back again over the border to play. And it depends on the way that your tour's arranged. But I mean, basically previously it wasn't an issue because, you know, everybody's European citizens. It's just a bit of a border thing, you know, whereas now it's quite different.
And so it's nice to kind of see that evolve a little bit more, because I mean that gives hope. Like,
it's an industry that really did suffer from, you know, the B word, and also from COVID. You know, everybody's still recovering. A lot of people's only source of income was taken away. They had to find something else to do for a long time. Didn't have a lot of immediate support, so anything in that regard's good.
Yeah, completely. It's nice to see these things kind of come through, essentially. Hopefully we'll have something come through a bit nicer than that, so we'll see.
But it's good to have good news.
But yeah, good to have the good news, you know. I mean, you've got to have good news, don't you? So
so but make that regular, eh?
Yeah, that'd be nice. All
right. Okay. Yeah, a place of good news and love. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see how that goes through. Before we move to the round, we've got a lot to cover today. Before we get to the round robin, Eon Lake, do you want to talk to us about Soma?
The Soma thing, yeah. So, you know, I look through music related stuff a lot, and it's microphone manufacturer makes microphone, blah 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 blah. I was like, there's a lot of yeah, so what? And then this thing came along from Soma, which is such a large dose of what the fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way to describe it. Large dose of it.
It cracked me up. I was getting major Kate Bush vibes off the video that they put together for it, but
it was trippy.
This crazy microtonal complex polyphonic synthesizer they've come up with, and they built it out of a slab of tree. They put all of these weird. It looks like something you'd see on Star Trek.
Yeah,
it looks so simple.
Yeah.
Like when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's just this like block of wood and some knobs, and then you listen to it, and you're like, wow, you can do some crazy stuff with that.
It really does sound mangle, and the transitions between different types of sound are pretty mad, almost as mad as that video they filmed.
Yeah,
it's trippy,
I don't know what's going on there. But it's like, wow, this is refreshing. I mean, it does genuinely look like an interesting instrument. You do really need to listen to it to understand what they're trying to do. It's mental sounds, really quiet. But also, you know, everything from pretty to that really sort of harsh wavetable mangling, you know, stretching from one thing to another and it screaming in the process. You know, it's a very pleasant plinky plonky and all sorts of other stuff as well. But yeah, in a world of, you know, the same thing being churned out and reasonably grey news and so on, this stood out as a, you know, there's still people who think differently in the world. I dread to think what it would cost. There's no announcement yet about how much it might cost, but
yeah,
I'd love to have a go on one. It looks like a lot of fun, and yeah, it sounds crazy, absolutely crazy.
I think we can guarantee it will probably end up in your
I'm sure
in your studio.
Very soon we'll get I ordered it.
In both kidneys.
I'm curious, have either of you guys worked with micro tunings at all?
No,
I haven't either.
I know Avex Twin likes to do things like that.
Yeah.
40 hertz is all very arbitrary and so on, but I don't really get what's the benefit. Is there a benefit?
Or is there just get really weird keys out of it, you know? Like
I mean,
weird tonal.
If there's something there to be explored, I'm into it, but I don't actually understand it enough to know what I might be missing, if you know what I mean.
I guess you won't know till you try it, though, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so
maybe I need to get a slab of tree.
There you go. If you've got the engineering know-how, sign me up for one of those. Even if you don't have the engineering know-how, I'm game to try whatever you make.
I just got this idea of you just going out, just out into the back garden, just chopping down your favorite oak, and then just like getting some like googly eyes and just kind of sticking it to the top. And then, yeah.
I'm also trying to think about that and think about how it relates to other instruments. I mean, they have it on this sort of like pile of stones, like a cairn or something. And she's virtually climbing on top of the thing, playing it. But is there like a guitar version where it's got a strap and you wear it like a sporran or something?
This is like log. Yeah, I mean, how much of that design is just for aesthetics and uniqueness? You know?
Yeah. How do you rock on it? You get a real shred.
You hold it like this and play it just like that. Yeah. That's how you do it. Yeah, behind the like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix or something. You know, put it behind you and start playing.
Just put some lighter fluid on it, set it alight, just make a sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love the fact that it doesn't follow any form of like traditional kind of like notation, or it doesn't seem to, from having looked at that.
It looks like it's carefully taken a lot of things about the way music works and gone right.
Bye. We're going this way.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
It's good. It's good. You know, it has a place in the world, I'm sure, to be doing something weird like that.
I think we need those new things to like push boundaries, you know? I'm sorry, Curtis, go ahead.
No, I was good. Again, yin and yang. I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Sorry, I beat you to the punch. It's the latency getting us.
Yeah, totally. You're completely right. Like, it's one of those things that you just so you get a keyboard coming from here, and that you think, okay, I'm going to play something in F, and then I mean, what do you do when you get that slab of wood? Just go, right, I'm going to hit the gold one. Like, it could be anything. You know,
it's gold MPC.
Major.
Yeah, gold major.
Gold major, yeah. I like gold harmonic minor, actually. That's my main key.
Gold harmonic minor. I love that.
I use my gold MPC to make gold harmonic minor.
Some of those controls look a little bit platinum, and if you've got a gold MPC and then that, I mean,
you're going places.
You need more.
Alien Trap.
You need like a crystal SP 404 or something, and then you got it all.
And it just glows. Just glows.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like that.
I also wonder if it could be used as a weapon. You know, if there's certain,
like a sonic, like blow your mind with how cool the sounds are.
It's a shield.
We can go beyond the brown note. We've got micro tuning. We can make people explode.
Just explode you with my awesomeness. Yeah,
you could be like Captain America with a shield, you know, just hold it up.
Yeah, that could work. It could work. And then when the bullets hit, it just makes a little like triumph.
It does a micro tuning scale. It goes ding 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 ding.
So yeah, that could work nicely.
I don't know how we got to this point, but let's move on.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is, like I say, it's 35 minutes past the hour, and Hydro Fighter is sitting in the waiting. Should we get him in?
Bring him in. I think we're on the round robin, right?
We're on the round robin. So let's see what he has to say. Let's get Hydro Fighter in here. He's got to check his mic. He's got a brand new mic today as well.
Oh, look at that thing. Watch is going to just like blast our ears.
That's a move today. Hydro Fighter, you're a move.
It's not brand new.
Oh.
It's brand old.
Brand old.
Brand old. Well, it's brand new in the setup here today with us.
Yeah, for sure. I just haven't been using it because I'm typically logged into the other computer for work over here and blah, 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 all that type of jazz. Yeah. How's it sound?
How are you?
Just up a little bit. You're a little reverby, but I think that's just the room. But it's fine.
I think you're right.
But just bring it up a little more.
Check, check, check. 1, 2,
down
1,
a pinch.
2. Down a pinch?
Yeah, just down a pinch. It's like, yeah.
How's that?
That should be good. At least level-wise, visible level, you're about equal with all of us. So
that works nicely. I'm going to get comfy because now Hydro Fighter's in the chat.
Yeah, how are you doing, Hydro Fighter?
I'm good, man. It's an interesting chat about the microtonal stuff.
I thought the shield bullet micro tuning might get you interested.
I had a buddy in college 20 some odd years ago who was into the microtonal stuff. And I think the idea is just to do something different than your standard 12 tone Western key type of stuff. And then the scores that he was doing, I mean, I couldn't remember what they look like, but they are crazy looking.
Huh. Have you experimented with it at all?
No, but I've been seeing that Ableton's got a lot of these tuners now to go with inside of the note. So I don't know if I'll go to that level. That's not something that really intrigues me that much.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? In speaking of Ableton, so I've got an itch in my throat. I drank too much tea too quickly.
Ableton did that to you?
Yeah, it's Ableton's fault. That's why I don't like Ableton.
I was wondering, because we have the scales in Ableton. Do you play around with them much at all? Because you're mostly MIDI, aren't you? Mostly soft synths.
No, I use the scales for random tone generators. If you use the chants in combination with the scales, you can get it to do random tone generation.
I think we talked about that before on a podcast.
We did when you. Yep.
Yeah. Because that was my genesis of trying to do it with this beat map in Reason. And also with the circuit when I do those generative things on that. But that was like the genesis of that thought.
That's the only reason I think you would need it for. I don't know what else people do for it unless they just feel like they can't play piano and want to hit every key that they can without getting.
It can be an easy way to start a track. Like if you set a scale and just play a couple notes and it's in key, you've got a thing now, and you can build off of it.
I mean, that's what I do. I walk up to the piano and just hit a key. All right, I started for playing in G today. All right, okay, let's try and make that work. That could work in its own right. But hey, that's always nice. It's nice to have you back, Hydrofighter.
It's nice to be back.
Good man, good man.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you as well, man.
We're moving up. So yeah, I wanted to. You come just in time for the round robin, which is kind of. It's almost as if this is engineered, almost as if we have a schedule. I found this on digital music. What is it? digitalmusicnews.com. And me, I'm a big fan of mixing. I'm a big fan. I really enjoy the mixing other people's tracks. I'm not a fan of mixing my own tracks, but there's always these tips and tricks that make mixing music easier. And I wanted us to go through them together. And I wanted to kind of talk about it, kind of what we can do, and the extent to which they are relevant, necessary, complete, incomplete. Yeah. Because I have my opinions, but I'm saving my opinions.
Before starting, I wonder, does everyone have the same problem with mixing?
No.
Probably not. Right?
Everybody's their own thing, so I'm sure everybody's got different things.
For one person might be different for another, but I mean, obviously they're picking some good general stuff.
That's what I was going to say. These are very generic, starting points that apply to pretty much anything.
Well, exactly. That's why I thought it would be a perfect starting conversation about mixing.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be relatively simple in what they are. Very take them at face value, but obviously we're four very different producers with very different amounts of experience and kind of styles. So I'd just be keen to know what you guys think about it.
Really. Yeah, so run through them real fast and we'll go.
So, very simply, 5 things to make your music.
I'm sorry, Curtis. Can you just zoom in a little more?
Yes.
Maybe a little more. Yeah, that should be good. That's perfect.
That's cool. That worked. There we go. Okay, professionalism in the marketplace. We're all good. So, very simply, so we got firstly a decent pair of monitors. You can. It says you can mix an entire song on headphones, but a decent pair of studio monitors is always a good place to start. It should be the first one. This is what I'll leave my thoughts to.
Just read them all, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
No, one at a time because I'm ready to pull that apart.
Oh.
All right, if you want to. I think we better to just run through it. Then everybody gives their opinion on it.
Let's run through them, and then we'll let Eon Lake off his chain. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll run through them. We'll let Eon Lake off his chain and just see where it goes. We'll run with it. So yeah, nice pair of monitors. Listen first, which again a little bit cliche, but it works. Use a reference track. Incorporate bussing, and finally ask for feedback. Which, as far as things go, relatively general, but that's what they are. So, like I say, nice pair of monitors. Listen first to the track. Use a reference track. Incorporate bussing, and then ask for feedback. So, Eon Lake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first one, nice pair of monitors. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but it's so right, but it's also so wrong at the same time. I mean, can you afford really good monitors? What is it? What is a nice pair of monitors? They're ones that are really flat, where you can hear everything. It's not colored in any way. What you're hearing is what it actually sounds like, so that you can get it right. So you want a pair of monitors that don't color what you're hearing. That's quite expensive to do, though, really properly. And the monitors are only part of it. You've got the room that you're in as well. Can add a load of color to what's coming out of the monitors, reflections off your desk and standing waves between the floor and the ceiling and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a real minefield. It's of course it's right, but at the same time, to really be able to hear what you're working on, which is the goal and why that's a good point, can get really expensive and quite complicated and all the rest of it, don't you think?
Well, I think it's partially right. I get what they're going for. I think what it should probably say is listen on multiple formats. Listen on headphones, listen on speakers, listen in your car, because you want to make sure it works in a lot of different things. Nice pair of monitors is great, but like you said, how do you define a pair of monitors as being nice? They put a recommendation and say it's affordable and sound great, but they're not saying whether it's flat, whether it's, you know, boosting the bass or it sounds good in their room. But I mean, in my opinion, I like the point, but I think it could go farther and say like test on your phone, you know.
And I would say beyond that point, I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again quickly. There is software that you can get which will flatten the response of your monitors, but not just your monitors, but your monitors as they sound in the room where you work from the position that you listen in. So there's a huge benefit to that. If your monitors like mine are hideously colored, I mean, really like hideously colored, I couldn't tell you the difference when I switched on the profile that flattened them, and suddenly everything I did started sounding better. But this is all talking about the same goal anyway, and that's being able to hear clearly what you're working on and not having characteristics of your equipment or the room you're in distort that and make it difficult for you to judge and do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Hydrofighter, what do you think?
I'm exactly with you guys on all of this stuff, but I think just even a decent set of monitors is okay. I mean, if you have something super nice, what does that mean when you go listen to it through a pair of super crappy speakers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, and that's where we say you got to try it out in different environments,
or like
and with cans and with earbuds and whatever else that we have out there.
Yeah.
I honestly bought some speakers a couple of years ago, and they've improved my mixes though. I mean, I was just using kind of trash speakers in the past, but it's nice as long as I'm sitting in the right stereo field to listen to them right and not too far away from them. I mean, I guess it's up to the listener or up to the mixer too.
And you use all the coping mechanisms for not having perfect monitoring anyway, don't you? You've talked before about, you know, listening in the car and all the rest, like everyone does, referencing on different systems. Yeah,
I mean, just from experience of making those mistakes where you've got them sounding really good through some near fields, and all of a sudden you go out to your car and it sounds like a bag of trash. So I mean, you got to go back to the drawing board. We all know what that's like.
Yeah. I think it's also a case of knowing the room. Like you say, okay, you can have a horribly colored or you can have a crappy pair of speakers, but as long as excuse me, if you know your speakers and if you know what comes from it, then you can kind of counteract. Like I got 2 sets of tannoys up here, and I mean they're okay. They just happen to be the cheapest one I could get on Tomat, but I mean they're good. But I also know that I've got no treatment up on this wood, so I know I'm going to get a boomy bass. So like I know that, so I just counteract that when I'm doing the mix. You know, I think you don't necessarily need to go out and buy a high-end pair of speakers. Get the speakers that work within your budget, and then learn and use them and study them and kind of understand why they are the way they are.
Mm-hmm. It's the way I was trained. Know the room that you work in, get used to it. Is there a bass strap in it? You know, it's kind of useful as well for monitoring. Mm-hmm. You know, they do help you hear the low end better, and it's just another way of referencing. But yeah, when we were checking balance, we'd always walk around the control room, having done all of the near field listening and everything, and mid range. Mm-hmm. Yeah, learn the room you work in is definitely good advice.
It's a good way to go. Now, coming over to our resident mastering engineer, Sunwarper, I wanted to know what you think about user reference track.
I mean, you should know by now. I recommend that to everybody for everything. Know, but... And I mean, whenever I have a mastering, I always say, do you have a reference track? Because I always like to try to match it to something because usually I find someone's mixing based on their influences or something, right? You know, like they want loud drums because so-and-so does it or something. So I like to get an idea of where they're going. And then for my own tracks, I always use a reference, at least when I'm mastering, not necessarily, I know some people do it when they write or when they mix, but when I'm mastering, just to kind of get an idea of like the loudness, the dynamics, things like that. I think it's good. And like, I've seen some people that use it in a way of actually songwriting. Like, okay, you put a reference track in it, you could make it the same BPM or tempo sync it, same key if you wanted to or whatever, but that's starting to get a little like copy. But the big thing is that they will use the structure. So like, oh, this song has a 2-bar intro. Okay, I'll do 2 bars of an intro and then I'll start the drums. And then, you know, it's like a way to sequence the track.
It's a good way of finishing a track you're stuck on.
Exactly, yeah.
To say, well, that's the structure. You've got to write the music now.
Well, hopefully you have like a loop of all the different instruments and you can just kind of build it from there.
Maybe sometimes you have to write a mid-8 or something, but...
Yeah.
It could work. It could work. How do you find it? Do you use reference tracks at all?
Absolutely, same way that Sunwarper does. It's more in the mastering side of things, but a lot of it is you have to know your instrumentation to know what to compare it to. And if you're using guitars, you probably want to compare it to something that has guitars on it. And if you're using something more synth-based, I mean, you got to compare it to something like that. It's more like Sunwarper said, though, trying to get that volume and where the instruments sit with inside the mix. Like that. I mean, I like drums hot. You guys know that. I like sub basses, right?
Front and center.
Yeah.
Front and center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That works in its own right. Maybe it's I don't. Okay, so you guys know I handle my mixes to Sunwarper to be mastered. I don't do my own mastering. But I also don't use reference tracks at all for anything.
That's why I stopped asking you. I remember I asked, "Do you have a reference track?" No.
No.
All right, I'm gonna give up then.
I've just never. Okay. So if I'm doing a commission for someone, if I'm doing something for that's not Curtis related, for example, then yes, obviously I'll use a reference track. The client will usually send a reference track, and then I'll use it, and I'll kind of create something along those lines. But I have no reference for the voices inside my head, so I can't really.
This might be a weird revelation, but I actually use old tracks of yours I've mastered as reference tracks for the new masters.
Really?
Yeah, just to get an idea of where you were, and like if I want to like depending on how you've mixed it now, you know, like as you change over time, like grow it and do that. So there's like the matching the story as it goes, you know? Yeah, I thought that might be an interesting revelation.
Curtis.
It blows my giant.
Well, I know you have a story and it's always growing, so I'm trying to grow the sound as well, just as you're growing the sound.
It's just when you realize it's someone that's got your back and they don't even know it. It's great, you know.
That's what Audionautic is.
I know.
Come on, man.
It's like the next level. The next level, bro. That's cool as fuck. I'll have to see. That's really cool. We're getting on for 50 minutes past the hour, and I realize we have some marketing. But does anyone have anything to say about any of these before we do so? We've got ask for feedback. We've got busing, we've got listening first, anything?
Listen first. It's so simple, it's obvious. But I mean, the problem is a lot of the time, especially with things that can get complicated, is nobody mentions the simple stuff. So I think it's right to put things like that in. Simple stuff matters. You know, I'd played drums for God knows how many years before I learned how to tune them properly. And once I did, the studio manager always had me in to tune the drums when he was recording the bands, because drums always sounded better when I did that. So yeah, the simple stuff, it should be covered. It should be mentioned.
Yeah.
I have one thing too, but Hydro Fighter, do you have anything you want to add?
No, the only thing I would say with this is, you know, sometimes when you're reading things and looking at techniques that you should be applying, maybe that's not the sound you're going for. That's where you have to listen to your ears, especially for like the lo-fi stuff that a lot of these guys are doing. I mean, if you want it muddy, you can't apply all these rules that you're reading. That's
true. That's a very good point. Yeah, if you're going for that like lo-fi muddy tone, yeah, you don't want to scoop, you know, 200.
Anyway, isn't there? It's its own set of rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to figure it out the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to add to the last one, ask for feedback. That's huge. That's really big. It's good to have a group you know, that you can run it past, or a couple people. Like, that's what I love about the Audionautic Discord and our Twitter groups and stuff, is that, you know, we can be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or I'm kind of stuck on this part, or I feel like there's something too loud or too, you know, because we get lost in a track as we're working on it. So you give it to someone who you trust, who's got objective ears for it, and, you know, you get their opinion, and we all do that for each other. And it's just nice to know, like Curtis was saying, that someone has your back and can really be like, yeah, this is good, or no, take it down, or this whole song's terrible, just stop and write something new. No, we never get that harsh, but
well, sometimes shut up, you're finished, it's fine.
Yeah, that's usually you to me every other like month. You're like, just stop, it's finished, just
change anything. Got another song.
And then I tweak it like 600 more times. He's like, okay, seriously, stop talking to me.
And then he'll tweak it post-release as well.
That was just raising guitars.
No, it's all good. Yeah, we'd like to know your guys, you guys and gals watching. We'd like to know what you think of these tips and tricks. You know, we've spouted about them for the last 10-15 minutes or so.
People commenting on them.
Yeah, we'd like to know what you guys think. And if you've got anything extra, like, is there anything that they've missed? I mean, obviously they have. What are they? Let us know. We'd like to
there are other stuff that's worked more for you than anything.
Yeah,
could well be.
The world of mixing is murky, and we're always trying to not make our mixes murky, unless, of course, we're doing lo-fi. So, I mean, a discussion and a discourse around it is always a kind of a nice way to go about it. I think it's always a nice way to go. But yes, thank you for partaking, gentlemen. Let's move over to Sunwarper's marketing minutes, shall we? I haven't really kind of got a name for it yet, but I mean, we're calling it marketing minutes.
Michael's marketing minutes would work great, but it's not Sunwarper, so, you know, what are we gonna do?
We'll find out something. Sunwarper's selling slacks. I don't know. We'll find
selling slacks. I'm not selling pants or something. Okay.
I know. I've got a Slack open on my computer. I'm just looking at it. So, but yeah. What do you want to start with, my friend?
Let's just start with the Apple thing real quick, because that's just cool. It's not really marketing. It's more on the mastering end. I just thought it was interesting and good to know in a marketing sense, so you don't have things clipping, I guess, or whatever. But we'll talk about how murky this whole LUFS measurement thing is. But Apple apparently announced that they've changed the Apple Music LUFS to -16 as the level that they're, you know, setting things to, which is lower than Spotify and I think a couple others at -14.
Okay. So for anyone who's tuning in who doesn't quite understand what LUFS are and what LUFS are going for,
it's just a metric of loudness, and it's kind of a
why does it exist?
Yeah, it's kind of murky because it, like, these normalization metrics for Apple, Spotify, things like that, they go by the overall loudness. So you could have a part in a song that hits -8, but if the majority of the song is -18, it's going to find somewhere in between that to say that it's at. So it's not actually, it might peak at -8, but it probably won't get punished by Spotify or Apple because the majority of it isn't at -8. So it's very murky, I guess, which is the word of the day for like how it works and things like that. I don't usually master to -14 or whatever. I like to go to about -10 to 12 for like the peaks, but I like to keep masters very dynamic, and I think that's why I can get away with it, because the peaks will be -10, but the quiet parts will usually be around -16, -14, you know, something like that. And so it kind of, there's a website, I forget the name of it, but you can actually put a song into it and it'll tell you like what the punishment number is that these websites or that these streaming platforms will do. It'll be like, what's that, Ian Lake?
Is it the loudnessmeter.com?
Loudness meter or loudness punishment. I forget what it's called, but it's something like that. You're probably right. I'll find it, and when I find it, I'll put it in the comments. What it'll show is like how much these streaming platforms are going to raise or lower your track, because whether you're like hitting the peak or not hitting the peak. But the other thing to mention, at least with Spotify, because that's what I use, they only do that if you're using that normalization setting in the settings where you say, I want everything to sound the same volume. That's when it starts doing those loudness changes. If not, it doesn't do that. That's at least to my knowledge. It might have changed, but that's the way that I've always seen it. Because there's a setting in Spotify that lets you change, like, it'll make everything the same volume, and then it changes things drastically. Because you'll hear songs that are not at -14 or -12. They're like, there's a Tycho track that's, I think, at -8 in the peaks or -7. So, yeah, that's why, because I know, Ian, like you had mentioned, when I tried to follow the -16, it just sounded super quiet compared to everything else. Well, that's probably why.
I think loudness penalties the site.
That's it. I think that's it. That's why I was saying punishment, penalty. I would add the P.
I stick the plug-in on my master bus when I'm doing the mastering. And I kind of go by it, but everything I do still seems to be quiet compared to everyone else. And I think it's because my stuff tends to be quite thick.
It's also probably the dynamics, because you have pretty large dynamics, which is what I was getting at. If your like major parts are hitting -10 or -14, but your other things are hitting -20, your mean is going to be like -18, and so it's not going to hit that. I said, I don't like to follow that, get that peak. The one thing I do is I'll change my limiter usually to like -5 or -1. For where it hits and starts changing it, because if you put it to -0.1, not -5, -0.5 or -1, because if you put it to -0.1 or -3, when it converts to its MP3 format on these streaming platforms, it can get distorted and go past the peak. So I like to do -0.5, I'm sorry, I keep, or -1, and then still go for the luffs of like, -10 in the peak, something like that. So yeah,
I mean,
sorry, I was droning on about a lot of numbers and stuff. But if there's anything you want me to clarify, I can.
It just works its own right. I mean,
with this, aren't we? With the luffs and everything, it's a reaction to the loudness wars. When we just went by peak, and now we're trying to do something that's sensible. But actually, as you see, and in practice, it can get a little complicated.
Yeah.
I suppose they're competing with radio, though, too, right? Where radio stations have their own compressors. They do it like that. They want their Apple Music to be standardized. So when people are listening to it, all the levels are consistent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially with things like Apple Music and Spotify, where everything's a playlisting and it's singles as opposed to albums and stuff, you want to have a consistency throughout everything. And yeah, which I understand. I understand it. Again, though,
it's favour, doesn't it? If there is consistency.
Yeah, it's better for the
acoustic thing where if it's louder, it sounds better to you. It just does.
Well, this is it. Like, this is how we go. Louder is better. I mean, that's what the loudness wars are all about, which you can hope comes to an end at some point. You never know.
I mean, I have seen mastering engineers saying, "Oh, it's come to its resolution already because of just like streaming and things like that." And I don't know, but it does seem like some genres have been mastering less loud, and some still go for massive. It also depends on genre, and like Ian was saying, if you have a lot less instruments, sometimes you can boost it a lot more and keep it clean. Like some rap stuff is hitting like -4 or something, on the luffs, like it's, or -0.4 or whatever. But it's
And pop stuff too.
Yeah,
I mean, the vocals are so
they're so compressed.
They don't have a lot of instrumentation.
Yeah, and pop can be so compressed, so you can really push it because everything's like controlled in the dynamics and the peaks. So yeah,
we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes out. Like, I mean, this is where I kind of hand things to you. I'm just going to go. You make it sound good, dude. And I'll get it done. I'll get it done. But our final piece for the day, because we are 1 minute past the hour now. We've got a full hour. Our interesting bit, we could bring back NFTs, which is always a highly controversial topic when we talk about NFTs.
That's why I put a little skull on the on the topic.
I'm just going to let this play in the background. You can't hear. I don't know if you can hear this. I can hear it, but it doesn't matter. You can see it underneath. You talk and tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is, I've talked about him in the last couple. This is Adam Mosseri. I think he's the Instagram head. I think that's the term, CEO, something like that. But every week he does a quick reel where he's talking about something new for creators and things like that they're rolling out on Instagram. Like last week I mentioned how he was talking about they're making feed posts now the 9x16 rather than the 4x5 or the square or things like that, because they're trying to push video and like larger feed, occupying the feed better. He said they were testing it, and I don't know. He didn't say whether they're keeping it or not. So I'll take a look and let you know next week. But anyways, this week he's talking about they're now trying to roll out some tests for incorporating NFTs into Instagram, and they're only doing it for, just some people at the moment. But it's kind of an interesting concept in the sense that you're now mixing NFTs and a potential way to get money as a creator with the Instagram algorithm and things like that, where someone on Insta could find you and see that the post has an NFT of that. Like let's say I perform one of those guitar reels and I make that an NFT. If it gets on the algorithm, right, because of hashtags or something, or Fender retweets it or puts it on their story, it's getting a lot of eyes on it, and someone could see, hey, shop, buy this as an NFT, and click it and buy it. So it's cool in the sense that you could get another avenue of revenue, but there's a lot of issues with NFT and things like that. And Adam Mosseri even says, Web3 and NFTs are about giving control out and things like that and decentralizing, whereas Instagram is trying to be a centralized place. And so he's kind of alluding that there's going to be or could be conflicts because of that. And he's like, we're trying to, work that out because we try to be a centralized place. And this is all about decentralization. So it was interesting that at the end he gives this like very weird clause. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and get your guys' take. I know NFT is a bit of a hot topic or controversial topic, but I see it as possibly cool if it opens up revenue streams for creators. But I'd love to hear your guys' takes.
I think for starters, I think when we're talking about things like Web 3.0, and when we're talking about things using and putting our work into various metaverses, for example, this is how it's going to be done. And it seems to, we had that initial rise at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022 of NFTs, and then it's dropped off quite considerably. Yeah, because the market's so unstable. Mm-hmm. But the consistent thing here is that these NFTs are just getting more and more spread in terms of what they can do, and they are not going anywhere. And the idea of using blockchain technology in order to create ownership of your own product almost, and without having that filtered through so many different channels is something which is something to be lauded for. I think it's a good way of doing it. Yeah. Whether or not NFTs on Instagram are part of that, or they're trying to jump onto some sort of bandwagon, I'm not so sure.
It's probably both.
Probably a bit of both.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yeah, but we've been testing things out, and if you have a look at where, if you want, it does seem to be, if you want to get your music into various metaverses and into where it can be heard by people who are joining the metaverse, it's the way it's going to be done, essentially. So bring it on. If you're going to, because it's all still very murky. It's like crypto. It's like
murky's the word of the day.
Word of the day. Like it's all exactly. It's all very complicated. It's all very kind of hush hush. It's all very kind of still very elitist. So if we can find a way to make it as easy as possible for people to kind of turn their art into an NFT, at the very basis, that is another avenue of potential revenue.
That's one thing I'm curious about. Sorry to cut you off, but how they're going to incorporate the actual creating of or minting of an NFT, whatever they call it. I don't think Instagram is doing that aspect. They're just putting a connection or a link to a website that, or whatever that is hosting this NFT. Mm-hmm. But I do the video showed something like when someone buys the NFT using the Instagram or connects it, they could then post tagging that Instagram post of the NFT and be like, I'm supporting Curtis, or whatever, and it's their post, but it has the NFT and so I just see it as interesting in terms of exposure and not the exposure play a show for free because you'll get exposure, but in terms of reaching more people who could theoretically be interested in buying and supporting your work.
Yeah, completely.
What about you, Hydrofighter? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in the NFT thing until it's better standardized. Until there's more standardizations around there, because I'm not gonna go out and buy stuff that. That's not my cup of tea. I think Eon said this one time a while back, is like having all of these different types of mints that you're using to purchase things, it's inconvenient for me, and I just don't look at it like that. But if it benefits somebody, more power to them.
Yeah. And Ian Lake, what do you think?
I think there's potential there, definitely. Yeah. I like what it thinks it's going to be.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. It's got potential, right?
There's some people on our Discord server that know a lot more about this. Was it Maureen's friend?
Yeah, Maureen's friend is pretty big on like what's it called, blockchain and all that.
Yeah, I had enough information there to tell me how much I don't know. But yeah, I think there's still a bit of a part of me that said, do I need to care about this yet, or should I just wait and see if it's something I need to know about later? And it's definitely got potential, though. It's just, it's kind of dependent on everyone's attitude to it. So its future value is dependent on how it's received and whether people, buy in either fiscally or mentally or both to the concept. And also, I suppose, what ends it gets used towards. It might be created, with a certain thing in mind, but various business people might find other uses for it that are not necessarily what was intended. I don't know. I'm all ears at the moment, really. If anybody who knows what they're talking about wants to enlighten me, I'd really like to hear a bit more about it. Certainly, so that I can make that decision about whether or not I need to care.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone's used NFTs or thinking about it in their music or anything like that, let us know in the comments, or if you want to head to the Discord in the description and let us know. Kind of like what Ian Lake was saying, we're just kind of researching it at this point. It seems like it's still a bit of the Wild West and, things like that. But I just wonder, is it one of those things where it'd be good to get into it before it starts really catching on, or would it be detrimental? And you don't know until hindsight, right, whether it was worth it or not. But it's just interesting. It keeps getting pulled up in like the current zeitgeist. It keeps getting talked about. There's a lot of negativity, but then you see a lot of success stories. So it's just interesting, just to see what's going on with it and keep up to date.
I always say, if you don't know something and if it scares you, you should do it.
There you go.
So I'll give it a try.
I'd be a drug addict if that was the case.
Saying nothing.
So I have to see how that goes. But yeah, I think we'll call it there on that front. On that front, because we are 10 past the hour. We've gone a little bit longer, but I mean, it's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want, really. So yeah.
I love how strict you were at the start, where you were like, "It's like a radio. We got to be off at 12. We got to start at 11." And now we're like, "We'll start at 11:05. I'll get off at 12:10. It's fine."
What if you can't? What's the phrase? If you can't beat them, join them. And
you got to adapt, man.
You got it. Be like water. Be like water.
There you go. Yeah.
Be like water. So yeah, I'm game. We thank you guys watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great fun as always. Again, highlight of my week. Like, it's always been fun to sit and chat to people. So yeah, we'd love to know what you thought about the topics that we've discussed today, about whether or not we're wrong. I love it when people disagree with me. So hit me up. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and we are live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. UTC. If you want to join us, the chat is always open. And then if you join us over on Patreon, you are welcome, like Hydro Fighter, to hop in the video and join in the discussion. And we also have a Twitter group where you can talk about anything you want us to cover in these episodes or anything like that. But yeah, we've also got a new Star stream coming out soon, don't we?
Saturday's a new Star stream, but that's only for patrons. As obviously as it always is. Brand new Star stream. I just finished editing it last night, so it's going to go up to YouTube, and then by half of the editing. Let's not take anything away from it. That'll be up on Saturday. Sunday we've got AMAP with Billows as well. Our Sunday evening, and then a veritable feast of other things coming at the rest of the night.
Yeah, Audionautic Records is thriving at the moment with a lot of releases. So if you want to check that out, you can head to our Bandcamp. We've got a lot of cool releases, like Curtis and Willibrandt's new collab. And before that, Frequency Control Center's awesome little Boards of Canada inspired 2-track. Then something new for me is coming out in a couple weeks. It'll be an interesting departure from my usual Sonic, so I hope you'll check it out.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, Curtis has been stuck listening to it for hours on end, making a lyric video. So you can take his word for it. I hope.
It's great. It's great. Yeah. Eon Lake, Hydra Fighter. Any final words?
No, I just hope you don't mess up any of the words. Bleep out the curse words.
It's all curse words, though. Is it just going to all be bleeps?
Just expletives. The man's got a dirty mouth. It's ridiculous.
Somebody lent him a gold NPC. And
yeah, I'd be set. Gold NPC and make Crystal SP, and we're good to go.
Spitting bars.
Yeah. Just way forward. But yeah, thank you very much indeed. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching.